once again, we're discussing the comic book industry. One of our last videos, if you caught it, we were talking about the Heavy Metal magazine, how insulting to the fans they've been, because the fans have disagreed with a costume change on Tarna. I mean, they covered her from neck to toe in armor. You have issues like this, and you look at what's going on. They say, well, they're all online. They're saying this, that, and the other thing. They don't like it. Yeah, they don't like it. Always respect your customers. Always. And you want to know something? Here's one major thing. And if you haven't realized this, we're just finding this out, which some of us have had an inkling. And I've said this before. Most of the people that are on Twitter and Reddit are not really fans. They're not fans. There are some fans that just have become activists. Then there are others who just basically know nothing of the comic books. They just basically don't like them. And they're going to express their distaste for it, which there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't like the comic, that's fine. That's fine if you don't like it. But don't sit there and try to destroy the industry by changing everything to the way you want it, which you're a small minority, where the majority of the fans, they don't want it. And this is why manga is doing phenomenal in this country. This is why it's overtaken on there. The top 20 graphic novels right now are all manga. And even the mainstream media is trying to hide that. They're trying to say, no, the numbers they're just not right. Really, the industry numbers are done by the same industry people that have been around for decades, and they're still giving out that information, and you're telling them that they're wrong. Amazing. Now, Mark Millar, if you're not familiar with this, just recently he's done that series, the Jupiter Legacy, which is on Netflix right now, which is okay. I have my issues with it. I'm waiting for season 2 to see how the second half of this will happen. He's also known for Marvel Knights, Spider-Man, Ultimate, Fantastic Four, Civil War, Kingsman. He's also responsible for Kingsman, The Secret Service, which I loved. Wanted, another series I loved. Chrononauts, Superior, and Kick-Ass. I mean, he's known for a lot of great stuff. And, it's to the point where if you look at some of his stuff, the comics and stuff like that, this is the stuff we were looking for years ago. You look at Kingsman. Kingsman's a great series. I can't wait for the new movie to come out. There's a new series. And even though I don't think Millar had anything to do with that, but it was a good start to it. I love the Kingsman movie, and I love the comic. It was very well done. It's a great story. Jupiter Legacy, I'm told that I've never had the comic. I've never read the comic on that, and I'm told it's a good comic. There are differences between the TV series and the comic. The backstories where they do the past tense is done in a shorter period of time, whereas it's stretched out in the TV series, which kind of slows down the series. But like I said, let's see what season 2 brings. Now, Mark Millar found out from some people in the industry that are in the marketing departments that basically most of the people, 95% of the comic book audience, is not on Twitter. Not surprised at that. Not surprised at all. Because you could sit there and discuss that, yeah, there are people in there that are complaining about on there. Yeah, you're right, they are. They are. This is the small percentile that are still left in Twitter that will on there. There are other people who have Twitter accounts that read the comic books, but don't say anything in there because basically it's a waste of their time. They don't buy the comic books anymore. They're into the mangas now and all that. But we're going to read a little bit into this about it in the comics. Veteran comic book writer Mark Millar has claimed that recently informed by a marketing expert connected to one of the big two publishers that 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter. A revelation which he believes must be mind-blowing for the company marketing departments. Millar reveals that this supposedly statistic on May 28th, tweeting it from his own personal Twitter account. Here is an amazing stat I heard yesterday. Only 10% of the comic book buyers have a Twitter account, and only half of them of those accounts are actually active. Thus, 95% of the comic book audience is not on Twitter, which must be mind-blowing for the company marketing departments, he continued. Seemingly commenting on the recent turn by many publishers, including Marvel, DC, and even heavy metal, and we discussed this before, toward the ignoring and in some cases outright insulting. That's right. The people that are left there that are true comic book fans, they continue to insult their established fan bases in favor of to appealing to an imagined audiences on social media. Yeah, it's basically they're pandering to themselves. They're creating these comics to themselves. It's the same thing with Hollywood. Hollywood is making movies for themselves. They're not making it for the general audience. The Nemesis creator also drew attention on how, once you factor in the average person follows so many people that comic book pros are easy to miss, and you'll quickly realize Twitter is really just a fun way to meet and chat with people who share our various passions as opposed to a general marketing tool. When asked by a Twitter user if he could provide details on who received this information from Millar, only revealed that it was a good pal of mine from marketing at one of the big two, and added that he was really surprised by this too. But he said the amount of comic buyers on Twitter is even on the slide from there, according to the parent company that deep dives and make a little impact on units, which is fascinating, Millar further asserted. In response to another user who broached the topic as well-documented trend of comic book professionals using their social media platforms to engage in diverse and artistic behavior, Millar stated, some people stagger through the streets screaming at clouds, ignoring them and focused on the fun stuff. Remember when you got into comics in the first place and the thrill of your first convention and thousands of people who loved it just as much as you do, wrote Millar. I've never been interested in various Twitter wars and put this whole thing into perspective. I've said this before. I've said this. People engaged. We went to comic book conventions, comic book stores. We engaged people there. Laying bare on how giving conclusions from the newly revealed statistics of that a baseline of 95% of your readers just want to read high-quality comics, Millar concluded. That's what this is all about. Twitter should have given a virtual Comic-Con where we could catch up with each other. Comic-Con didn't work online. They don't work online. Because, we see this from San Diego, stuff like that. Because, most of the stuff on the Comic-Con, on the YouTube and stuff like that, are pre-recorded. A lot of it's not live. And that's wrong. You should be sitting there live with people on there. Listen to what they are saying to you. DC and Marvel have become garbage. So has heavy metal. All these companies, they're sitting there wondering, oh, how is manga beating us? How is manga? You know how manga's beating you? They're creating stories. No politics. They're creating good stories that people enjoy. Really good stories. I'm still reading In Another World with my smartphone, which, it's a light novel, and it's pretty good. I'm hoping they do a season 2. There's only a season 1 on the anime. There's been talks that maybe they might do a season 2, they might not. It's gone back and forth. There's sometimes that you've seen some YouTube videos where guys say, well, maybe it might be coming. It's mostly clickbait on that. But hey, listen, we can dream on those. We can hope that they make it. And they're good stories. Some people didn't like that one with the smartphone. I enjoyed it. I got it on Blu-ray. It's in my Blu-ray collection on there. You know, same thing with Rise of the Shield Hero. Rise of the Shield Hero is excellent. It's an excellent story. So is Goblin Slayer. So is Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei is like one of the best stories right now. One of the best out there. The anime is phenomenal. In fact, unfortunately, the second half of this season has been delayed all the way, I think, straight to October. And it's, you know, it's a shame, but, you know, there might be some issues we don't know about, and they want to make sure it's out. Because, you know, they built a company around just this particular story. A company was built just to create Mushoku Tensei, which that's amazing. See, that's where your money is. Your money, if you could create a complete story, and you create a company to recreate that story on the screen, and it comes out perfect, it comes out beautiful. It's, you know, it's a masterpiece. You know, people buy your product, your T-shirts, your figurines and stuff like that. You know, you've done it. Demon Slayer is another one. It's one of the biggest right now. Demon Slayer is out selling like crazy. You know, the mainstream media is trying to knock down Demon Slayer for that reason. And the same thing with My Hero Academia. Look at the top 20 on the I forgot the name of the company, but a lot of the people that handle the research behind these, what's selling the most on the graphic novels. A lot of them are the My Hero Academias, the Demon Slayers. You have another one that's coming up, which I'm interested in, Spy X Family. Spy X Family is starting to move up. I think they've hit the 10 million circulation spot on there. 10 million. 10 million. DC and Marvel will give their right arm just for that kind of a circulation on one IP. I mean, but that's how they treat it. They treat all this stuff, the Captain Marvel and Spider-Man and Batman, they treat it as IPs, intellectual properties, not works of art, not stories, you know, not classical stories. Watchmen, a great story, was on the Times 100 classic literary list. The first and the last time that will ever happen, according to Time. And Watchmen won a couple literary awards back then, and they said it's the first time and the last time that will happen. It's a shame, because there are some great stories out there. You know, and you say, well, the movie wasn't that great. Yeah, the movie wasn't great. TV series was horrible. You know, and this is what happens when you look at the TV series versus what is in the original story itself, the original graphic novel. You could see how politically active they went with this. You know, you may disagree with it. You may have found that you might have enjoyed it, but that is not what the original author wanted. He mentions the story was supposed to be one and done. This is not a story that was supposed to continue. I mean, some people said Kingsman is a one and done, but they were able to drag some things out and get some more things out there, and it kind of works. Not to the point where it becomes highly successful, but it's a decent story. You know, that's not what they were trying to do with the Watchmen TV series. What they were doing is taking a story, rebooting it, and doing some activism in it. All you gotta do is look how they treated the cops, how they treated the people in these stories. It's the same thing across the board on everything that is out today. Look at DC from the point of view from the CW. Most of the programs that are on there that is created through Warner and CW from the DC universe is under 500,000 people watching. I think Batwoman, the recent was 381,000.0381. You know, you should be doing over 1 million people watching for the particular independent network station that you're on. You should not be sitting there going, okay, we're going to take this and continue. You know, Batwoman should be canceled. Legends of Tomorrow should be canceled. Black Lightning's already on the way out. Well, actually, it's already done. Supergirl, they should stop right now. I mean, they should not go any further on there because look at the ratings on there. Flash is almost there. If Flash drops down to under 500,000, that's where it should be canceled. Years ago, if they got down to about 700,000, they would be freaking gone. And because of the attitude that CW took, not waiting, rushing Superman and Lois onto the screens when they had to take the COVID break because basically the situation, they had not completed the season. They took a couple of weeks off, replaced it with Supergirl. They lost their viewers. They were about 1.1, 1.2 on the viewers, that was good. And it was steady. It was steady for pretty much 5 episodes. They come back, they're under 800,000 viewers. They had a bit of a boost the last episode, but if it doesn't make back to the million, that's going to be a shame for this series. And people say, well, they can watch it on Netflix and stuff like that. That's not how networks work. People might watch it later and they weren't interested, they catch it then. It doesn't go toward creating new episodes. So, when you go back to the comic book industry and you're finding out that basically most of the people that are reading your comics are just not in social media, you got to say to yourself, okay, what happened? Where did they go? Why aren't they conversing on Twitter? Maybe they have nothing to say about your junk, on how you're treating the comics. It's just pure garbage. They've moved over to manga. They moved away from you. I bet we find them over with all the manga sites. So you've reached this part of the video. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share, comment freely below on all of our social media platforms. Hit that thumbs up, hit that fire on ODYSEE. No matter where you're watching us on, we do appreciate that. I have to say, we're slowly moving, but you've been there. I think we're at the point where about 83% of you are not subscribed. And that's a big increase from 92%. And I'm glad for that. But still, please, those of you who haven't subscribed, maybe today is the day I've earned your subscription. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye now.